what are we on here? Episode 5, episode 6, something. Storytime, right? And I don't read a lot of fiction, so I don't have a lot of fiction laying around the house, even in the lobby on the bookshelf there. However, I was taking a look and I found this gem. Something strange is going on. New tales from the Fletcher Hanks universe. Now, who's Fletcher Hanks? Well, I read something about him. I don't know, last time before that. He's the inventor of Stardust, the super wizard. So this is a whole collection of stories based on the characters in the, I assume, the style of Fletcher Hanks. I haven't read much of this because, as usual, it takes a lot of patience to read this kind of stuff. And I have not read this story, which, let's see here, page 135. It's 11 pages long. What are we going to do? We're not going to read the whole thing. However, we're going to divide this into 2 parts. This will be part 1, and then in a couple days I'll pick up where we left off and have a part 2, because I'm sure it's going to be a thriller. And maybe a part 3 after that, depending on what my tolerance is to read this. So as I say, I haven't read this story. In fact, I've only read the title and the first line, and I lost interest, which is promising. So fasten your seatbelts, folks. Here we go. This story is called Stardust in The Horror of Voidstone. It's by some cat named Frank Schildiner. I don't know if that's his real name or not. If you read our blog, you know I go through my share of nonsense. My name's on it all, so maybe this guy, he didn't change his name either. Okay, let's see what we got here. Ready? Go. Deep within the earth, far from the eyes of man or beast, lay a secret base. Within this covert facility lay the most advanced laboratory in the solar system, filled with equipment that could change the lives of billions of Earth's inhabitants for the better. Yet not one iota of the scientific gear was used for the betterment of mankind. No, this place had a monstrous mission, one only known to a few spare men and women. This was the base of the legendary and infamous Fifth Column, an organization devoted to the enslavement of all life on Earth. A terrible terrorist body devoted to evil and monstrous hatred of mankind and the human race's protectors. They hid in the darkness of their secret base, waiting for the return to power. That's one sentence right there. All right. And I'm adding a punctuation to this. Who knows how it's supposed to be read? Many years before, they had risen to nearly controlling the earth, but their leader failed in his mission to make humanity their slaves. Why did the Fifth Column, once a mighty power capable of causing all the countries in the world to quake at their very name, fall so far that they were reduced to a hidden base in the Stygian depths of the earth? The answer was simple. Ready? You want to know the answer? Stardust, the super wizard. Yes, Stardust the super wizard, the legendary protector of Earth. Where did he come from? Nobody knew, and few were willing to ask. A powerful titan with the power of the heroes of legend, he resided in a secret star far from our planet and acted as our protector against the worst evils that rose to enslave or destroy humanity. Stardust's powers were enormous and unfathomable, and he used them in the cause of justice, though a very harsh justice indeed. Many years ago, you still with me? Many years ago, how many minutes? 4 minutes, 15 seconds. Many years ago, the Fifth Column was close to the fruition of their plans when Stardust destroyed their armies with little effort, and then captured the feared leader of their organization and transformed him into a rat with the body of a man. Handing him over to the authorities, the Fifth Column, he was a man with the body of a rat, if I recall. Somebody didn't do their homework. All right, handing him over to the authorities, the Fifth Column was shattered and left a mere shadow of their former greatness. The few remaining leaders hid in secret and despaired to even rise in power once again. But then a new leader took command, a secretive and terrible commander known as Galaxy One. Oh, man. Galaxy One gathered the scattered remnants of the once great and terrible organization and rebuilt their power. The membership was few, and the majority of the resources went to the creation of this base and the many impressive scientific devices that filled the secret facility. The remaining members were organized in cells throughout the world, ready to strike when their frightening leader's plan came to fruition. "Throw the switches," Galaxy One whispered, hidden in the darkness and watching as the leaders sat in their assigned positions. It's like a movie. Slowly, with terror-filled hearts, the under-leaders of the terrible fifth column reached out and began to manipulate their instruments. Their hands, sweating and white-knuckled, pulled down their switches, the timing exact and causing the enormous machines to come to life. Loud whirring and hums filled the air, and the ozone stench of electricity crept into everyone present's senses, particularly their sense of smell. What the heck is this? A feeling of dread rose as each switch and lever were pulled, and the scream and whine of the instruments rose, causing more than a few present to quake in terror. These terrible men and women, individuals who would happily order or enact the murder of millions, shook with fear at the thought of the plans of their leader, Galaxy One. Galaxy One, seated in a pool of nearly impenetrable darkness, reached out with one claw-like hand and pressed the final button. A charge of energy ran through the bodies of all the fifth column leaders, causing them to shriek in agony and collapse over their equipment. Smoke rose from their now desiccated corpses, and the final pieces of equipment suddenly came to life. That was the plan all along of the terrible Galaxy One, to sacrifice the lives of all the leaders of the fifth column and use their energies in the grand plan. The scientific instruments, along with the life energies of a dozen terrible and evil men and women, would empower the final device, the one that took the longest to create. This was the one that would cause the rise of power of the fifth column and the destruction of Stardust, the super wizard. That was 2 pages. And one page is all taken up by this title here. All right, Frank Schildiner. Let's keep going. One more. Galaxy One, in truth, thought of the fifth column as tools for a larger plan. While the terrorist organization wished the enslavement of all life on Earth, their terrible leader had a more horrific plan in mind. Galaxy One wished to destroy all life on Earth. Oh, the other ones want to enslave all the life on Earth. But Stardust, the super wizard, stood in the way as the protector of the galaxy, forcing Galaxy One to think wider in scope. The Titan of Justice must be captured and caused to fall to the same doom as every being on planet Earth. It took many years, but the fifth column's monstrous leader created a device that would spell the destruction of the powerful being Stardust, the super wizard. Hours later, the machine noise began to fade, and the lights in the machines began to slowly dim. The ozone scent of electricity dissipated, and all that remained was a single red blinking over a large silver chamber at the end of the room. This was the signal that the grand design of Galaxy One was complete, and the destruction of the Titan of Justice, the master of stellar energy, Stardust, the super wizard, was to come in a very short time. Decades of work, the sacrifice of untold numbers of lives, and the life energies of the most evil men and women in the planet, all for this one single event. Let's get to it, huh? Pressing the red button again with a claw-like hand, Galaxy One watched as the silver chamber slowly slid open. A sliver of silver vapor rose from the cabinet, causing the terrible leader of the fifth column to tense with anticipation. Then a large hand, one that dwarfed any human mitt, grasped the side of the chamber. A second hand, one just as enormous, appeared on the opposite end, and the metal of the cabinet crumpled as the pair of huge extremities grasped the metal. The hands were pale, a sickly shade of white, one would expect on the underbelly of a bottom-feeding fish. Then the possessor of the hand stepped out of the cabinet, The man that stepped forth was a giant, well beyond the size of any normal man. I guess that's why they call him a giant. His shoulders were enormous and heavily muscular, narrowing down to a perfectly tapered waist. The titanic head was chiseled with a massive jaw, high cheekbones, and a thick neck that was almost as massive as the impressive skull. The impression given at first sight of this gigantic specimen was massive power, barely held inside a titanic frame. What's this say? Get your strange on. Yeah, you do that. All right, yes. He was a duplicate of the terrifying Titan of Justice, Stardust the Super Wizard, but with two distinct differences that made them quite different. First was the horrific pale skin, which was so different from the star bronze tan the Titan of Justice possessed. The second was this newly created duplicate of Stardust had jet black hair and eyes, their color so dark they appeared to be made from the emptiness of space. I live, the duplicate thundered, raising his massive arms above his head. I live. You are my creation, Galaxy One whispered, staring across at Stardust's near duplicate. You look just like that monster Stardust, but you are better than he. Are you not? I am far greater. You have designed me thus, the duplicate replied, and caused his naked body to be clothed in a costume as deep black as his hair and eyes. The clothing was covered with a red ring around the neck and a wide belt with yellow circlets covering the surface. Your powers are growing by the moment, Galaxy One rasped. Ugh. But I must know, what do you wish to what do you wish to call yourself? After we learn this, we're done for the day. Let's see. You were created to be a clone of Stardust, but you are not he. You are something far more terrible. The duplicate of Stardust, the Super Wizard, smiled broadly, showing rows of perfect white teeth. You asked correctly, creator of mine, for I am Voidstone, the superior wizard, and I am death to all life. First Stardust shall fall by my hand, then all of this world shall perish. Galaxy One began to laugh, a wheezing chuckle that rose with each moment. It was a terrible sound. It was the death knell for all life in the universe. And end of part one. And the name of this story again is the Horror of Voidstone, and it's pretty horrible. All right, that's it for now. Like I say, in a couple days, we'll I don't know if we'll finish, but we'll get farther through, slog further through this thing. So that's that. Belle Esplanade. I'm in the dining room right now. It's August. It's super slow, so I got nothing to do. Might as well read a story, right? And after this, we're going out to lunch. We're going to the Pythian building, which is this restored Knights of Pythias. There was a black fraternity after the Civil War. It formed a big, beautiful building. In the 60s, of course, they covered it up with some kind of metal gewgaws. And they've just taken it all down, restored the whole outside. It's gorgeous. Inside, it's all restored. They got a food court down in the bottom. A bunch of food trucks get together. I'm not talking about St. Roch Market, which is like this overly pretentious food court down there in St. Roch neighborhood. Also, you got the Auction House Market. It's run by the same St. Roch people. It's over in the central business district. Pythian Market is all food trucks and little restaurants. And they just want to expand, have another presence in the central business district. Really good. They make a good pizza there. What's the name of that place? Mirabeau. So not like Mirabeau, the guy from the French Revolution. This is Merabo, I think. So anyhow, that's where we're going to make a good pie. And in that case, in the meantime, a votre santé, mes amis. You have a great New Orleans day, wherever you may happen to find yourself. LaBelleEsplanade.com. Don't forget that website. Check it out if you're coming to New Orleans, and read the blog. You can waste a lot of time. It's just something strange is going on our blog. All right, ciao.